Hey guys, so for this video, I want to talk about how you can perform better on high ping. The thing is, I personally play on 0 ping, which means I cannot use my own gameplay or experiences to help you out. What I can do, however, is talk about what I learned from VOD reviewing one of the best high ping players in the game, Nanolite. Nanolite is a 17-year-old pro player from Florida that gets around 60 ping on NA East and 70 ping on NA West. Still, he's one of the most talented and hardworking individuals in the scene. He placed 3rd at DreamHack Anaheim, 14th in the Elite Cup, and 5th in the Week 10 Contender Cash Cup. On top of that, he streams, makes YouTube content, and scrims for more than 8 hours every single day. So with all of that being said, let's dive into what makes Nanolite so insanely successful on 60 plus ping. To start, I want to focus on box fighting since that's the aspect of Fortnite you high pingers struggle with the most. Now, when it comes to box fighting, high ping players are at an obvious disadvantage. They cannot hold walls because the coin flip mechanic no longer works, they can't steal walls first try for the same reason, and absolutely everything they do is delayed. Something Nanolite does to counter this is to replace walls by shooting them and not pickaxing them. I know it's nothing new or groundbreaking, but it's seriously how he replaces walls like 90% of the time. He'll run up, shoot at the wall to get it low before he's even in range, and then break it when he gets close enough to replace it. The reason for this is first, it's much more reliable on high ping compared to using your pickaxe, and second, your opponent will not expect it as much as they will a pickaxe. Anytime you sit in front of your opponent's box and mindlessly pickaxe their wall down, you're just making it easier for them to see what's coming. On the other hand, if you do what Nanolite does and constantly pressure different walls from different angles, you can shoot at one they don't expect, replace it, and win the box fight. Then the other important thing Nanolite does is he almost always places a cone inside his opponent's box instead of a ramp. Why? Well, the whole point of putting a cone or box down after yoinking a wall is to prevent the other player from placing one of their own for protection. Usually, I would say it doesn't matter too much whether you place a ramp or cone, but for high ping, it actually matters a lot. Just think about it. If you place down a ramp, you have to edit it in order to do damage. So if you're on high ping, the edit is automatically going to be much slower and more delayed. That's the last thing you want during box fights, as it gives your opponent more time to line up a shot on you or escape out of the side to safety. Nano knows this and accepts he cannot do Mongrel Classics as fast as most other pros can, which is why he favors cones over ramps. So while yes, a cone is riskier since you're not blocking off your opponent, it's the much better option for aggressive high ping players. One last box fighting tip I wanted to add in was how safe and intelligently Nano plays them out. Whenever he approaches a box, he always comes from the most optimal side and gives himself a right hand peek to work with. Additionally, he remembers to cover off his weak sides and take any open build pieces he can. What that's called is piece control and is a topic I covered on how to improve at box fighting. Definitely go check that video out if you need to, but the short version is that you want to take any open build piece you can during close range engagements. This gives you much more control of the fight, as we see here where Nanolite prevents his opponent from escaping, resulting in an easy elimination. On the flip side of that, establishing piece control is especially important for players on high ping so they don't get abused by it themselves. Way too many high ping players wait to take an open build piece and then blame their ping when they can't claim it. I will admit that probably would not happen on 0 ping, but the fact of the matter is, you are not on 0 ping. You're on upwards of 30 and you need to adapt. The simple way to do that is to always establish piece control. That way you are never in a ping battle with another player to place a certain build piece, as you've already had it placed down from the start. Moving on, the next major aspect of Nanolite's success is his early game. The early game, as you guys know, is the most difficult part of the game to play out. There's tons of RNG and you never really know what to expect. Add in playing on 60 ping to that and you have a recipe for disaster. Something Nanolite does to combat this is to land at a one-person drop spot. He doesn't land at a named POI or a big unnamed location like Risky Reels. He literally lands on 2 chests atop the bridge outside of Lazy Lake. From there, after he breaks the chest with a floor, he runs over to the side of the mountain, builds a ramp, jumps up on the opposite side, and then takes fall damage while going for the next cliffside chest. He finally follows that up by jumping into the river, swimming over to the chest that's near the bush, and onto the last chest and campfire that he can use to heal up. I'm not even kidding, he does that loot route every single scrim game. He fishes for floppers, and he really never has that great loot. His reasoning behind this comes back to the fact he plays on high ping. If he were to land at Lazy Lake and get contested by 5 other players with better ping than him, then he would straight up never make it out of the early game. Therefore, his trick is to land somewhere that's only good enough for one person and to make sure he has the best drop for it. You'll notice sometimes he does not, and he has to go to one of his backup spots like the cabin near Risky Reels, but for the majority of the time, he has by far the best drop, and therefore an uncontested looting route. Another important tip from Nanolite's early game is his loadout. Most of you guys who are like me and don't have to stress over your ping probably do not think too much about how your ping affects your loadout. Obviously, you care about having a good loadout to help you win fights, you just don't think about weapons and utility the same way a high ping person should. For instance, Nanolite always carries a harpoon with him to the mid and late game. He'll use a few of its charges for floppers in the early game, then will hold on to it or try to find a new one. Never does he give it up for a sniper or SMG. At first, I thought this was simply because harpoons are great for late game map refreshes. All you gotta do is look into the zone, find someone that got eliminated, and scoop up their loot. What I quickly realized though was that Nanolite used it for even more than that. He will often pull it out and pick up loot less than 5 feet away from him. I'm talking about loot that's so close to him he could just edit out of his box and walk over to. Reason why he does this is that he knows how risky, due to his high ping, physically walking over and collecting the loot is. On low ping, that would not be a problem. He could easily build and edit over to protect himself. On high ping, however, he would get sprayed by the entire server, which is the last thing you want when your building is delayed. An additional loadout related note is that Nanolite seems to favor tacs over pumps. This is probably because white, green, and blue tacs are way better than white, green, and blue pumps, but it could also be that he likes to carry 2 heals alongside his harpoon and does not trust his ping when switching from his pump to his AR after a pump shot. Either way, for those of you who are also on high ping, these are things you need to think about when selecting your loadout for scrims, tournament matches, and arena. Second to last tip I picked up from Nanolite was how important your aim is on high ping. Anyone who plays on more than 40 ping knows how bad editing and building feels in game. Everything you do is quite literally delayed by the exact millisecond it says your ping is. That means if you play on 100 ping, all of your edits and builds will place a full 100 milliseconds slower than someone on 0 ping. Do you know what that does not apply to? Your aim. Your aim in Fortnite is the one mechanic that's not dominated and completely controlled by your ping. In fact, it's actually affected much more by things like refresh rate and FPS, unless you play on some insanely high ping amount. Why this matters is you need to have good aim on high ping if you want to be successful. Nanolite has amazing aim, as you've probably noticed, and it's one of the main reasons he consistently wins fights. Whether it's a close range shotgun duel or a long range AR bloom battle, his mouse control alone carries him against low ping players. My personal recommendation for improving your aim is to use a third-party aim trainer like Kovacs and AimGod, or to use a creative aim trainer within Fortnite. Both of those options will help you get accustomed to your sensitivity and build muscle memory on it. So I'm not sure whether Nanolite himself actually aim trains daily. I know he plays the game like 8 hours on average anyways. The point is, if you want to be more consistent on high ping, prioritize your aim and start aim training as soon as you can. The final and maybe the most overlooked thing Nanolite does is have complete and total confidence in his gameplay. The last time I brought this up was in my player analysis of Mr. Savage, and I wanted to bring it up again because it's even more important for people on high ping. Of course, a low ping player like Bugha will be extremely confident going into box fights and build battles. He knows he can first time take walls and doesn't have to worry about his builds getting taken. For Nanolite on the other hand, stuff like that is always in the back of his mind. He simply cannot play the same way Bugha does if he expects to do well. The takeaway though is that this does not mean he cannot be a top tier player. As long as you adapt and actively play around your high ping, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. And if you don't believe me, then tell me how Nanolite got so dang good. The kid had everything working against him, and yet here he is, quickly becoming one of the top free agents in the world. So I understand it can be really hard to not blame your ping and to not get demotivated, but Nanolite is proof you can still make it work. Overall guys, that is everything I picked up from Nanolite on how to be consistent and win on high ping. I'll have all of his social links in the description down below, so definitely check him out. The dude is an absolute beast and is always cranking out different types of content. Additionally, if you enjoyed this video, do be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and to turn on my post notifications. Shout out to everyone using code Jerian. We just surpassed 100 million views on the channel, which is absolutely absurd and is a number I never thought I would reach. So I truly do want to thank you guys. Otherwise, that's it from me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.